You read the title right. I truly do believe that if there is some divine creator out there, they made Speed Racer 2008 first, then decided on maybe creating a witness for such a marvelous piece of divinity. Why? What is this movie? Like as a concept, it's a live-action adaptation of the popular anime series Speed Racer, and I've never seen Speed Racer. Don't get me wrong, it's not that I usually watch the live action before the original, but when I saw a clip of this movie, my head knew I had to watch it right away, and I did, like 2 hours later. I expected a normal-ass racing film, not teenagers on wheels trying to murder each other in cold blood. Suddenly, it's a wonderful, and the next a guy straight up pulls out a gun and attempts to shoot the main character point blank. This movie is absolutely the peak of dumb awesome. And it's presented in the most hellish style imaginable. Basically, a crap ton of terrible 2000 CG. But the magic in this movie is that unlike other movies to have this aesthetic, the Wachowskis, yes, they made this movie, figured that the style would go out of date super quick, so they decided to use it as a poison-like stylistic choice. And it works. Never will I feel more joy than seeing one of the best fight choreographies I've ever seen happen in front of a green screen to the cheapy CG mountains to ever grace my eyes. You then get a Minecraft biome change in the environment and it looks believable. It sounds like a joke, but this works tremendously well. By dialing the CG to 10,000, they prevented the movie from aging. It looks like the movie has this look on purpose, and not only that, but it's used to in a way that helps the movie flow from one scene to the next well through the usage of clever CG transitioning. More to it is the way that they ease the audience into this aesthetic. I figure it's quite clever. Suspension of disbelief. You've heard this before, you're watching a video essay. This refers to a mind frame a writer wants to put the audience into as quickly as possible, where the audience stops trying to see the media by the rules of reality and immerses themselves in the rules of the media itself. Basically, you let a writer trick you into thinking it's normal for a sponge to cook at the fast food restaurant despite being under the sea, and he uses normal ass bread puns. As a viewer, you wish to be entertained through the means of fiction, so you and the writers both agree silently that it's better to just not focus too much on specifics, they write a better story, and you enjoy it more. This movie makes you suspend your disbelief when it comes to the crappy CG. It's a lot more about perception than the usual suspension of disbelief related to character actions and in-universe mechanics. You already take the places you see in film mostly for granted, regardless of how pretty or ugly they might look. These familiar places and landscapes work to transmit information to the audience super quick. You can use a landscape associated with peace and sleep, like a bedroom, to ease the audience into simply assuming nothing much is going to happen in the scene. Characters are gonna talk, set up a plot point, maybe have a moment. It can also be used contrastingly too. You have a nice bedroom, you expect something calm, and then boom, grenade. Now compare that to an exciting racetrack. If it was boring, you'd understand no one's having fun at these racetracks. If it's exciting, you expect flying cars and Technicolor fire to find itself in places you've never expected it to. My hair's on Technicolor fire, hold on. So basically, the Wachowskis find a way to ease you into the style. The first shots of the film, which also introduce the main character, Speed Racer, which, for the record, is his actual name. His parents are called Pops and Mom Racer. They imply his second name is straight up Racer, so take that as you may. These shots are colorful, filled with contrasting colors which will evolve a few scenes later to show the absolutely psychedelic coloring of the film. The first background distortion they use moves a classroom, a common space, into an effect that will simulate the speed lines often seen in anime. This usage of motion blur on backgrounds is actually an effect utilized abundantly by the film, helping the audience develop an eye for the movie's style before they actually bring it to its fullest effect. Cue the first implementation of a fully CG background in the style of hand-drawn children's drawings, a childish style which is a nod to the usual coloring of the film's daytime scenes. Then boom, you get your first shot involving a fully CG animated landscape. On its own, it would look awkward, but thanks to the prior introduction, it doesn't strike you as the look of an alien planet. It's all meant to build up to this scene. Now that CG elements are introduced, you see a mundane racetrack, one that looks like Mario Colosseum if Nintendo ever grew a brain and put it in a Mario Kart DLC wave. Please! The racetrack uses natural yet super saturated coloring to introduce the look of vehicles and the visual style of the race sequences, and then later, through the usage of another cool transition, they introduce the LCD-induced hyper tracks that the movie will focus more often on. Now with neon lights, glowing everything and increased particle effects. Congratulations! You just passed the beginner's course of Speed Racer Visual Style 101. Pay $99.99 monthly for the next course.
Speed Racer, slow down!
Thought I was joking about the name? No. They didn't give a big sell-off as rap when they designed a lot of the visual stuff in this movie. Once they got you used to the psychedelic environment, they use it without regard of making it look anywhere near plausible. And they drop plausibility so hard you end up getting absolute awesome. Their usage of cuttings and transitions allows them to implement reactions during the races in a really efficient manner without breaking the sense of speed from the races. The somewhat childish comedic style introduced near the beginning extends itself to the comedy of the movie and makes it clear that action, comedy, and the serious moments are separated from one another in a properly defined manner. And we're talking full-on stupid awesome. Exaggerated stupid awesome. We're talking... And it's done in full knowledge. This is the sort of thing that leaves you open-mouthed when you see it because of how ridiculous it is.
He did not just do that!
Yes, he flipping did. The best part is how well timed and paced everything is in the second half of the film. It's surely full of action, but it's never overwhelming. I rewatched this film in double speed in preparation for this video, and somehow I could still follow every action. The fact that everything is oversaturated was taken into account for the animation and cinematography to make this movie comfortable to watch at the very least. So yes, it's a completely ballistic movie with its style and action. Worth watching simply because of it. Did you see those tires get on a knife fight? You wanna know what's not ballistic? Bunnies, look at them. But also the portrayal of characters themselves in the film. While the subject matter of street racing turned professional was a ridiculous concept, the relationships between the characters rarely are, save the comic relief monkey child duo. And even then, they are properly framed as an obligatory addition created by virtue of being a children's film, with most of their jokes appended to the first half of the film before the plot properly picks up. Regardless, they do get a scene dedicated to developing their relationship with Speed Racer. I still can't get a better name. Speed Racer is our protagonist, and he is very well introduced, developed, and categorized in this film. From the very start, they characterize him as someone whose only proper path in life is racing. Someone who doesn't think much about external topics unrelated to racing and maybe his family. He grows very strong connections to the people around him, and then this is used to give every character a little development when it comes to their relationship with Speed Racer, my god the name, as he is an unusual personality. They make it clear that he enjoys thinking about racing, to the point where he is often unaware of why he races to begin with. And his interactions with other characters are used cleverly to move him towards the discovery of appreciation for those he has a connection with. His dad gets one, his dead brother gets one, the bad guy gets one. It's these conversations that you might overlook the first time that built the writing of this movie to create a sense of progression in the character of Speed Racer, one which is much more steady to contrast the high-speed action of the races. It mirrors the manner in which the main character learns to be more observant and attentive without losing sight of what he loves to do, which is racing. And of course, they found the dorkiest way to show this: milk. Homelander would be proud. Not surprising either, there's a car doing a cartwheel an average of 1 time per minute in this film. I mean, they just took everything all too literally, these people. Actually, this is a callback to actual racing, being used to hiding the importance of the familiar connections Speed Racer forms throughout the film. It's based on a tradition from Indianapolis 500, a tradition which began because a racer, Louis Mayer, I think that's how you say it, I'm not sure, I actually have no clue about racing, asked for a glass of milk after a victory in a race in a show of appreciation for his mother, who would encourage him to drink whole milk on hot days. Point is, this all helps build up to one of the most uncommon yet spectacular finales I've ever seen on film, tuning up the character development, source material, and visual flair to 11 into one of the most unique experiences you might ever find yet. It's genuinely a well put together piece, so well in fact it kinda has a sense of divinity around it. There's a lot of impressive things here that I'm just not really going to talk about because I want you all to watch this movie as spoiler-free as possible. It's one of those films you can't experience without actually watching it yourself. Stuff that reminds me of my favorite movies of all time, like Spider-Verse and Everything Everywhere All at Once. Movies that are so stylized and well put together that you just can't explain the movie and expect people to understand why exactly it's so good. I urge you to check this film out if you can. Just get some time. It's so much worth it. I get the feeling like it's just a film that shouldn't exist, a film that wasn't meant for mortal eyes. I think that can only come out as a product of its time, with too much budget for its own good, by visionary directors that simply didn't comprehend or respect the state of the market at release, leading to a design decision that could have only occurred right then and there. By the way, this movie came at the same time as Iron Man, so tough luck, buddy. And it's based on a franchise that was classical yet so completely ignored that no one would have minded if they completely decimated it. The amount of coincidences that led to its finalization is nothing short of a miracle, comparable to the possibility of existing human life. Almost. Kinda. Not really. Actually, even less impossible, since it's already an impossibility that we exist, and without us the movie wouldn't be. So maybe, just maybe, The entire point of humanity was to lead to impossibilities such as this film, which are impossibilities unto themselves as they are the product of an initial impossibility, which means that even if other alien life forms exist thousands of light years away, made exactly like us and exactly the same time frame and on a maybe exactly same galaxy, the existence of this film is unique to this body of the entire universe, being the speck of a speck of a speck of a chance that scientifically and religiously is nothing but the equivalent of a pet crumb compared to the scope of the entirety of Russia and Canada combined, meaning this movie might have simply created itself as no other explanation could exist but maybe spontaneity, making this film comparable to the Big Bang and ultimately the very reason as to why humans exist, simply a byproduct that had to occur for this to be. It required an audience and hundreds of years of media creation to have any possibility of existing, and why we owe our existence to this little impossibility called the Big Bang, ultimately known by its true name as Speed Racer. Seriously, that name is fucking killing me. Who the fuck came up with it? And that's that. I got a headache from speaking too much and I don't have air in my brain now anymore. Goodbye.